trust.
Provided additional chairs to give comfort to patrons. President of the club, Vincent Frimpong-Menu, reiterated their commitment to support quality education in the region.
This is where children can really come and get some enhancement in their knowledge. We gather that there is a lot to be done. So we would call on all well-meaning Ghanaians to support this facility.
All right, so we are staying in the Ashanti region because the Regional Security Council is currently meeting, or will be meeting this afternoon, following the thuggery exhibited by some members of the so-called security group affiliated to the NPP, known as the Delta Force. The group ousted the Regional Security Coordinator, who was appointed by the President. The group claimed that George Ajay, who is the coordinating who is actually the Regional Security Coordinator, is not a known person to them and did not in any way contribute to the success of the New Patriotic Party's victory in the regions, especially when it has to do with security. The leader of the group has been granted a police inquiry bail, and that was done on Saturday night. TV3 has learnt and has also reported to the police this morning as part of his bail conditions. And our reporter, William Evans Inkum, who has been monitoring this particular development with keen eye, has joined us to let us know the latest with regard to this and whether the regional security meeting is underway or is yet to start. Evans, what's happening now?
To gather all the evidences that will help in the investigation. But let me run you through what really happened on that fateful day. So this where they use as an entry point, though it is an exit point. And just after this place, you move straight to the Regional Security Council Coordinator's office. But as you can see, it has been plastered with heavy slabs just to ensure that there's no more entry to the office because of the security nature. This place is a security zone, so not everybody is allowed to enter. So it was just an act of force, and he was removed from the office, passed through this particular place, and then thrown outside the block of the hospital. In fact, this morning we have been speaking with the police, and they have been telling me that they are still doing their investigation to unravel what might have provoked that action. We're also hearing that the man who was captured somewhere on Friday has been granted bail pending further investigation. For the whereabouts of the Regional Security Coordinator, we are told that this morning he did not report to the office, but he has been asked to come to Accra. As to whether there is going to be a change, we cannot confirm that. But what we do know is that he has been asked to come to Accra. So as far as this particular place is concerned, the place is very calm. The police has assured that they are going to work vehemently to unravel all the mystery behind this particular attack and then effect more arrests. So they are urging the public to keep calm, but we are also going to be in the helms of affairs as we gather all that you need to know as far as recent development at the RCC is concerned. My name is William Evans Inkum. Over to you, Martin.
All right, thank you very much, William Evans Inkum, with that update. So certainly the meeting will be taking place. When it does, whatever comes up, we will get that to you as well in your various homes. But we want to look a little deeper into this development, and we've been joined in the studio by a security analyst to see what kind of solution as a country we can find to some of these developments with regard to the fact that this is not the first time vigilante groups seem to have taking the law into their own hands and misconducted themselves. And if you saw the images from Kumasi, the coordinator himself, that's Mr. George Ajay, could have been hurt had the police not been there on time. Adib Sani is a security analyst. He's joined us in studio. Good afternoon, Adib, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
What are your preliminary comments about what happened in Kumasi, especially considering the fact that this is not the first time that we've recorded such an incident?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers.
I think before I come to that, let me correct a misconception or perhaps a misrepresentation. The history of vigilantism is traced to the United States when the early settlers were there. Because of the lack of law enforcement or a criminal justice system, they decided to come together to be on the lookout to enforce the law. So in the first place, there's absolutely nothing fundamentally wrong with a group of young men and women coming together within the ambits of the law to enforce the law in their society. But that notwithstanding, the problem has had to do with these vigilante groups metamorphosing into militia groups. Historically, because of the lack of resources, because of the lack of money, they are forced to approach businessmen, they are forced to approach politicians who take advantage of them to perpetrate their own selfish desires. So what happened in Kumasi, I'm not surprised because this has been festering for a very long time, and I have always contended that the security agencies in Ghana lack the roadmap. They lack a plan to, if not completely nip this in the bud, but to an appreciable level manage it.
Yeah, that is the context in which we want to place this interview. How can we nip it in the bud? Because we know that these vigilante groups exist, and for them to take such an action and flout what the president of the country has said or done is an indictment on the Constitution itself. So how can we deal with it?
Well, for example, we had similar issues, especially after the Liberian Civil War that ended in 2003, and in 2013, according to Human Rights Watch, one of their biggest challenge had to do with the fact that the people had lost confidence in the security setup. And I see this to a very minute level festering in the country. But that notwithstanding, it would help us if we understand the vigilante subculture and get to know what would make young men and women come together to form such groups to harass other people. Is it because of self-entitlement? Is it because they want to feel belonged to a group? Or is it because of the monetary aspect? Is it because they lack jobs? But my brother, I think it's important we go beyond the rhetoric. Let us approach this issue dispassionately. Let us approach it scientifically. In the past, it has always been an arrest has been made here, an arrest has been made. But from a security analytical perspective, it should go beyond the arrest.
To what? So yes, arrests. Like
these are people who have other people of high repute in society up there. So instead of mutilating the body of the snake, why don't we cut off their head? Let's look beyond these groups. Let us go after those who fund them, those who resource them. Because if you want to arrest every member of every vigilante group in Ghana, the prisons will be full. Do you get me? But besides that, the police, I have always indicated emphatically, it's important they harness their relationship with the communities in which they operate. It is time for us to go beyond the rhetoric. Civil society organizations, opinion leaders, religious groups.
So clearly, the people in authority or people who have the financial muscle and resource these people should be the ones that the police target or the state targets, not just the mere people in the group.
America has been bombing the Taliban since 2001. But still, we have Taliban. They've been bombing IS for God knows how long. Still, they are there. Let us approach it from a very smart perspective rather than the everyday arrest here, arrest there. I think it is important. Aside that, in the run-up to the election last year, the police met with the various political parties who appended their signature to the effect that they are not going to allow the activities of these groups within their folds. Fine, it was a working document, everybody knew about it, but the level of commitment is the problem. Indeed, as we sit here, no political party in Ghana has come out to concede that indeed these political, this vigilante groups is linked to my party.
So it is a group that rather say we belong to this party, but the party never says.
But the party, and we don't have any evidence to suggest that they are linked to the political parties, though we might, take it as common knowledge that indeed they are linked to those political parties.
Finally, the police as it stands every now and then seem to get to the scene and try to bring some sanity. And like you mentioned, consistently they mention the issue of arrests. They do arrest some people. We hardly hear the end or conclusion of these matters. What else can the police do apart from, like you mentioned, just arresting the people?
You see, people would have to be made to understand that we have statutes, we have laws, we have processes, we have procedures. And if you are displeased or not happy about a situation, there are processes to go by. At the same time, the laws, despite their existence, doesn't ensure sanity. It should be education-based. People should be made to realize that indeed these laws exist and they can bite. So it's important that the police deal transparently, they deal effectively, efficiently, and on a timely manner with these wrongdoers to send a clear message to would-be wrongdoers that we are not a banana republic and words do indeed work.
Okay. All right. We'll have to leave it here for now. And we've been speaking with Adib Sani. He is a security analyst, and we've been putting the development in Kumasi in perspective. And as you would know, we know that the Regional Security Council is in a meeting as we speak. We'll get details of what would come out of that meeting and bring it to you. Thank you very much once again, Ibrahim. And Adib, I beg your pardon, Adib Sani. And we'll come certainly to you later on. This is still Midday Live on TV3. Let's turn our attention to one other development that we are monitoring for you. That has to do with the issue regarding the Ameri deal and the government of Ghana. So, the Honorable Minister appointed by the President inaugurated a 17-member committee on February 1, 2017 to review, restructure and recommend areas for amendment of the Build, Own, Operate and Transfer Agreement that was dated on the 10th of February 2015 between the government of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Power, and the Africa Middle East Resources Investment Group, LLC, that is represented, or now we known as the Ameri Energy. And when they are done, they will submit a report within a 2-week period. The agreement was signed as an emergency power agreement to help reduce the power supply deficit at the time, and the project was expected to be delivered within 90 days after the fulfillment of conditions precedent. The delay in implementing the agreement defeated its classification as an emergency report. The committee reviewed the agreement based on its technical, financial, and legal merits or demerits and identified issues that should form the basis for a renegotiation of the agreement with Ameri. Even though the plant is operational, several omissions and concessions were made in the agreement which require renegotiation, amendments, and restructuring of the agreement. We've been joined on via Skype by Ishmael Ejekum Hene, and I would want to put a few questions to him with regard to the deal. Mr. Ejekum Hene, thank you very much and for your time for joining us.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, to start with, the committee that has been set up has come up with two clear things, at least to everybody. We have heard the two. Either they are going to abrogate the contract or they might look at a renegotiation. How does this hit you as a country that needed the power resources? And with this coming up, are we likely to see maybe a judgment debt situation?
Let me say good afternoon to your viewers. I think judgment debt, it's at this stage, let's even stay off that. I'm happy it's been done by, the committee is headed by a legal person, and I've cited some of the recommendations, and they're saying that if Ameri, for example, refuses to come to the table, the contract should be abrogated for fraud. And for me, if that is established, then the contract could be or can be cancelled, and there will be no ramification. Of course, you expect Ameri to fight it if it gets to that. But I think, I haven't read the full report, but I've seen that the committee is saying that there are real challenges and on all fronts, technical, financial, and also legal lapses in the agreement. You wonder how Parliament ended up passing or approving that deal if these things were actually have actually been established by this committee. You wonder how our parliament overlooked all of those or didn't pay attention to that. But if truly these issues have been established in the contract, then I think asking them to come back to the table is a good step. But as I said, they're not going to just lie down and say cancel the contract. They're going to seriously contest it. But if what we are reading from this report is true, then we have enough grounds to say that they can go to court.
All right, Mr. Jacomini, just kindly hold your thoughts for me, because we've also been joined on the phone lines by John Jinapor, who is a member of parliament and then also a former deputy minister for power. Mr. John Jinapor, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. Unfortunately, we seem to have lost him on the line. But back to the issue. When we do, we'll work the lines to raise John Jinapor again and put a few questions to him, because it was under his government that we had the agreement signed between the two entities, that's government and then Ameri. But from the indications, if government says that, the current administration says, Mr. Jacomini, they say they are likely to renegotiate, or because they've described it as fraudulent, Ameri would have to come and clarify themselves. If they are to renegotiate, what would you think the focus should be?
I think anything illegal will not stand in law. So, I mean, if this committee is convinced to come up with such recommendations, then if it's illegal, it's illegal. And those things, that should constitute enough ground for abrogation. But if, like I'm seeing from some portions of the report, if it's a matter of something that somebody needs to come and clarify before we know whether fraud could be established, then yes, let them come to the table. The issues that we have in dispute, we should point it out to them and let them explain it. But I see portions of the report saying that something like $150 million is going to be paid to somebody as commission, and that has to be revised and reviewed. I mean, these things are fraudulent. I mean, $150 million for commission, if it's true, then there's something seriously wrong. But mind you, it's not as if this is coming to anybody as a surprise. Civil society organizations said that there's something fundamentally wrong with the Ameri deal, but it was pushed through Parliament. But I always say that in matters like this, I don't blame the executive. I will always blame the members of Parliament, the people we have elected and have paid to go and sit there to protect the national interest.
Okay.
Why would you pass such an agreement if truly the things that we are hearing now from the committee actually existed in the agreement? What were they
hold on
looking
briefly.
at? Is it that they didn't understand that?
Hold on briefly for me. John Jinapor has joined us. Mr. Jinapor, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Right, to start with, have you had the privilege to see the report of the current administration's committee that is reviewing the Ameri deal? And if you have, what do you say to the fact that they've described it as fraudulent?
Thank you. May I know whether I'm clear, because I'm driving from Koforidua to Accra. I want to be sure it's clear.
It is slightly noisy, but we'll manage.
Okay, thank you. First of all, as I said, I'm driving from Koforidua to Accra. I have not cited that report except this afternoon, when I think one of your producers did me a favor by sending it to me by WhatsApp. I'm still on the way coming to Accra, and so I haven't looked at the report. I am not aware there was a committee put in place to investigate the Ameri contract. Nobody contacted me from that ministry. I've spoken to my minister who led us during the Ameri contract process, Honorable Dr. Kovnadanko. He's also indicated that he has not been contacted. And I would assume that these are reports coming from the media. In as much as I respect you and trust your information, let me just put on record that myself and the minister responsible at that time has not been contacted by the committee.
Okay.
We don't even know the details of that report. And so when I get to Accra, I intend meeting my minister. We'll look at it and we'll respond appropriately.
All right, Mr. Jinapo, but another concern that has been raised has to do with the fact that the deal was given parliamentary approval, and would want to ask whether you think that while you were at the ministry, due diligence was done by Parliament before the deal was approved.
Parliament is a master of its own rules. Parliament's duty is to have oversight responsibility over we, the executive. We did the best that we could. I do recall that it went through all the processes from procurement, from cabinet, through to Parliament. Parliament has representation from both the MPP and the NDC. And as far as I'm concerned, this contract was approved by consensus from both sides. And so, if you ask me off the cuff, I can just tell you that we went through all the necessary processes, all the laid down processes. And so, I don't even know who chaired this committee. I don't know when the committee was constituted. I don't know their mandate. I don't know their scope. I don't know their terms of reference. I don't know how they went about their job in order to come to this finality. But as I said, we shall look at all these issues and make a determination going forward.
Certainly, we'll come back to you after you're able to get some more information. But before you leave, though, do you agree that the ministry flipped or overlooked a lot of the concerns that were raised by some civil society organizations? Because right when we heard about this Ameri deal, some concerns were raised about government having to do due diligence by proper consultation, ensuring that all I's are dotted and all T's are crossed before going ahead. When these concerns were raised, did government take it seriously to look through it before assenting our signature as a country?
Let me just say that to the best of my knowledge, I do know that we did broad stakeholder consultation. In the process of signing the contract, nobody raised an issue. It was after the contract was executed that I think a Norwegian journalist or so raised some issues that had to do with one of the staff. Right. After the contract was executed, that a journalist raised some issue with one of the staff working with Ameri. And to the best of my knowledge, that was the issue. Okay. But in the process, we went through all the necessary processes. We are open to cooperate with every government institution, but let me just put on record that we would wish the right thing. Let's conduct independent jobs, fair, transparent, acceptable standards, so that all of us would come to the firm conclusion that we are doing what is right. I've just heard this on air. In fact, I haven't seen any report. I haven't been contacted by any committee. Neither has my minister then been contacted, seen any report, or has been asked to even make an input in respect of the investigation. And so we remain calm and...
We're grateful. Thank you very much, Mr. John Jinapo. We'll certainly come to you when you're done looking through it or you get some further information. But let me conclude with you, Mr. Jacob Hene. Thank you very much for holding on. I do not know whether you're able to hear what John Jinapo said, but for the fact that the current committee did not, talk to them or contact them in any way before coming up with this final, with their report, raises some concerns. Do you not agree?
I do agree, and I heard everything he said, but it depends on the terms of reference of this committee. If the committee was supposed to review an existing agreement to advise the minister or the presidency on whether or not they have any case to renegotiate this, then they really don't need to contact the previous administration, because the previous, as you heard him saying, they were happy with it, nobody raised objection, but that's not even entirely true, because I know civil society and some experts like as we all raise concerns about it. It wasn't after the deal had been signed. But so if it's not a forensic audit that they're doing, and it's just a matter of taking an existing contract just to see if there's any room for government to renegotiate or cancel the contract, then I don't know how they do their things. I don't think it's out of place for this recommendation to come out. Going forward, I expect that they would invite them to explain why certain things were done before we even dream of canceling any contract. I think I said this before. it's very, very important we don't end up incurring judgment debt. So I like the approach where you have a lawyer looking at it and raising issues. Once the report is out, let's see if we have a strong case. If we do have a strong case, why not? Let's save Ghanaians money. But it is sad that members of parliament would do this. I mean, whilst in opposition, the MPP said they signed the agreement or they approved the thing before they saw the full details of the agreement. That's very, very responsible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ejekumhene,
and we need to make sure
for your thoughts on this. We are grateful and thank you very much for talking to us. He is the executive director for the Kumasi Technical Institute, KITE. And we would want to pick your thoughts as well. Do let us know what your thoughts are on this development. Should government abrogate completely or should they just renegotiate, look at the deal as they are doing? Let us know. We'll be back with more on Midday Live. Stay with us.
Hello, my name is Parkwisi Asari, host of Time with the Captains on Business Focus, your monthly business mentorship program. Join me tonight as I host the Chief Executive Officer of Universal Merchant Bank, John Ewa, as we talk about entrepreneurship and how to start a business. We'll also be joined by students from the University of Ghana Business School who will be asking questions of our CEO. We're live on air and online.
TV3, first in news, best in entertainment. Watch New Day every weekday at 6 a.m. New Day is brought to you by Givers Capsules. TV3, first in news, best in entertainment.
Yes, Jordan Ayew now with a chip.
Bolt going very in. Here comes Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt storming through. He takes it again. Blake.
Sports Station shows every Monday at 9 p.m. on TV3 and is brought to you by Cowbell, Our Milk, Origin Bitters and Betway.
TV3, first in news, best in entertainment.
Es encerrada en un mundo de cristal.
Venga para acá. Te ves guapísima.
¿Qué está haciendo?
No lo sé.
A young, beautiful and wealthy woman falls for a hitman, but later realizes that the love of her life and her own family belong to one Mexican drug cartel.
Debo encontrar la salida. Él es el asesino de mi papá.
Miss Dynamite shows every Thursday and Friday at 9 p.m. right here on TV3.
Weekends are a bit like several hour days put into one for our sport-loving fans. Several top matches, top-level competitions, various sporting disciplines that have been spread across. It can get a bit confusing, but no more because of our new show, Warm Up. What would you do with over £200,000? You can't imagine, right? That is what your favorite footballer, Cristiano Ronaldo, earns per week. Now, let me show you this. That is one of the world's most expensive, a Cognizant CCXR Trevetta. Floyd Mayweather, he cruises into his gym with this. Now, would you like a tour to the Baby Jet Mansion? The Basilica is what it's called. Your Saturday mornings just got better. Join me, Thierry Nyan, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on TV3 and 3FM for more juicy information on your sports personalities and what they'll be doing when they're not kicking for fame and glory.
Thank you very much for staying with TV3. This is still Midday Live, and my name is Martin Esidudate. This week, we are bringing you a special series that we are putting together as a company, and this has to do with stories on Galamsey and the kind of impact it is having on the environment and our water bodies. You would recall that some episodes between the lines, documentary that TV3 put together a few months ago.
In 2011, more than 300 illegal miners were trapped to death at various illegal sites of the country as a result of Galamsey operations. Despite this startling revelation and the risk involved, the rush for gold far outweighs life for some of these illegal miners. Every day, damage is being caused to the environment by Galamsey operators, a damage which could be irreversible, posing dire consequences for the environment and health of Ghana's citizenry.
My parents have died. I don't have somebody to look on me. So I do plenty job in my life, survive. Now I have my children, they are also in school. So I'm a poverty man, so I try to join Galamsey.
We should go bring the machine.
Our boss is there.
Oh, who's your boss?
Alaji Baba.
Where are they?
He's at Priscilla.
As a human being, no matter what the case, you have to find something that can let you survive in this world. Without anything, you can't survive. So that's why I'm saying they should to try their best and do something about us.
River Cobra, which once served as a source of drinking water for residents and also as a means of transport, creating employment for residents in most parts of the western region, has now been polluted.
We don't
have any water apart from this one. We use it for cooking and drinking and washing, everything.
On May 14, 2013, former President John Mahama, in a bid to clamp down on activities of illegal miners in the country and deal with the Galamsey menace, set up an inter-ministerial task force. The work of the task force was especially felt with the deportation of hundreds of Chinese nationals engaged in Galamsey operations in the country.
Are in the middle when we come to these Galamsey issues because they are the owners of the land. If they decide and take a stand that no more Galamsey, do you know that we could possibly kill Galamsey in this country?
It is time for a holistic approach to tackle the Galamsey menace in the country.
The issue of illicit mining is lawlessness, and that is why the enforcement of the law is critical.
Any attempt to respond to this needs a more holistic approach that understands not only the environmental side, but should look at the security side, the small arms side. It should look at the terrorism side. It should look at the employment side. And it should look at the general acceptability of the economic spin-offs of what comes out of the trade.
All right, so TV3 will keep an eye on this particular development and ensure that we have a sustained campaign to stop Galamsey because it's already affecting lives. Let's look at some other business stories. The Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority has intercepted 3 heavy-duty and 2 light-duty trucks loaded with smuggled goods on the the Kumasi-Barekese Highway. The sector has also intercepted 5 uncustomed vehicles within the Kumasi metropolis.
Owners of the impounded trucks loaded with cooking oil, spare parts, electronic gadgets and other items are suspected to have evaded import tax of about 200,000 cedis. Drivers of the trucks have been arrested while the owners are negotiating with customs officials to pay the requisite import duties and fines before the goods are released. Sector Commander of Customs, Assistant Commissioner Kwesi Ahiapo, says the trucks were intercepted at customs checkpoint on the Barekese-Kumasi Road. Following a tip-off, Kwesi Ahiapo says the port of entry of the goods is yet to be ascertained, but believes the goods were smuggled into the country.
No document whatsoever has been produced, but the examination shows that yes, it's in transit because I can see the tracking device. After, unfortunately, there's no transit sticker on the vehicle, and all other devices telling me that they are supposed to be in transit.
The customs also impounded some vehicles plying the roads in Kumasi without paying the import tax on them. 2 Lexus, Range Rover, Acura, and a taxi cab.
All right, so that'll be it for business on Midday Live. Up next is sports with Thierry Nyan. We'll be back shortly.
TV3, first in news, best in a Watch New Day every weekday at 6 a.m. New Day is brought to you by Givers Capsules.
All right, now you're welcome back to Midday Live with me, Thierry Nyan, right here as I bring you the latest in the world of sports. Now let's start off with former Black Stars video analyst Gerard News, who has finally left the country after a long battle with the Ghana Football Association over unpaid bonuses, which he later received over the weekend.
It is a saga that has run for 7 weeks at a hotel in Accra and played out before the full glare of the media. Video analyst Gerard News, like all other members of the Ghana technical team from the 2017 Nations Cup, was owed bonuses. Unlike the others, he insisted on being paid before leaving the hotel. In the process, the GFA raked up more hotel bills. News fed the media with details every step of the way, and the GFA's reputation took a battering alongside the country's. So last Saturday, News was finally paid his $40,000 in outstanding bonuses and packages. Then he refused to pay the other expenses the GFA says were outside what was agreed. He had accrued a bill of 5,000 Ghana cedis while using paid television, telephone and minibar during his stay at the hotel. The hotel wouldn't let him leave. News created a scene, slept in a sofa before the GFA issued a statement detailing how he had stepped out of his boundaries. It has all been a sorry episode, but one that leaves key lessons. Part of News' reluctance to leave Ghana was because his agreement with the GFA was verbal, with no written contract on terms and conditions. After the damage done to their image, you have to hope the GFA have learnt their lessons.
Now, new CAF President Ahmad Ahmad will officially begin full work at the governing body in Cairo on Monday. The CAF President chaired a meeting on Sunday with staff of the organization at the CAF Secretariat, with the meeting marking his effective assumption of office following his election to the position during the 39th CAF Ordinary General Assembly on March 16. He was also accompanied by 2 members of the CAF Executive Committee, Constant Umari Soleimani, and GFA President Kwesi Nyantakyi. The latter, Mr. Nyantakyi, he will confirm as the first Vice President of CAF later this week. All right, so that piece of news tells you that Mr. Kwesi Nyantakyi, the president of the Ghana Football Association, is going to be confirmed by Ahmad Ahmad, to be first vice president of CAF. But away from there, let's do the Ghana Premier League. And league champions Wild Stars suffered a great deal of humiliation at their own backyard as they were trounced 4-1 by Wafa in an outstanding league fixture. The Sugakope side, who recorded their first away win in 27 league games, blew away their guests in the final hour of the game to inflict on the champions only their second defeat of the season. It was Wild Stars' first defeat at home in 20 league games. The win for Wafa propels them to third, 3 points behind the Diona Stars and Kotoko, while Wild Stars drop to 6th. And then away from there, we do some other news. And do you remember Ezekiel Ansa, Ziggy as he's popularly known? He has arrived, in the country. And, after leaving here some years back, he visited Presec, his alma mater, to see some of the students in that particular school and speak to them.
It was a return for the old boy who has come good. Ezekiel Ansa now rolls with the high and mighty under the bright lights of the NFL, earning good money for it. But it all began on the modest fields and classrooms of the Presbyterian Boys Secondary School. Like most boys who went through Presec, he studied science, but he also played basketball, football, and ran the tracks for the school. When he gained a scholarship to study in the United States, the academic and sporting foundation from Presec came in handy. So the joy was palpable when the Detroit Lions star returned to his alma mater to take them through the basics of American football, but above all, offer a word of encouragement to the students that it was possible to aim for both academic and sporting excellence.
One thing about playing sports in college is if you're not able to maintain a certain GPA, you will not be allowed to play on the field. And I'm going to reiterate that to the youth out here today, and just make them understand that no matter how good you are in sports, if you're not academically sound, you know, you're not going to be allowed to stay on the field.
The students clearly loved it too, singing the school anthem with the old boy.
Take our places in the future of our country. Oh, come along and join us. Oh, come along and join us. Happy studios are we.
And getting stuck in during the American football lessons. But above all, they simply cherished the opportunity.
The notion there is that always seconds make it big out there. But then to see that someone who has made it big has been able to come back to acknowledge his own people, it just makes me feel proud that at least I can one way or the other follow his footsteps.
Usually the other just don't come around. Yes, so we usually like it when some of them at least pass by and teach us a lot. Yes.
I also feel happy because many are the pre-seconds who are outside there, but then they go and then they never come back. So he being back here to teach us how his future and destiny game is like, it makes me feel better.
Ezekiel Ansah's story has actually inspired a lot of us pre-seconds. It makes us understand that it doesn't matter where we come from, but then if we are focused and we make up our minds that we want to make it, we can make it in life.
He could be out there as one of the best international sportsmen to come out of this school. But for Ziggy, home is always where the heart is.
All right, now, so that's exactly where we end today's sports bulletin with me, Thierry Nyan, here on Media Live. Over to you, Martin, to bring us.
Thank you very much, Thierry, and thank you for the latest in the world of sports. Sure. This is still Midday Live on TV3. We're shifting straight to one of the big stories we are looking at for you, which has to do with the Ameri deal that the previous administration signed with Ameri as in the company. The latest we have is that the current Minister of Energy has indicated that government will review all power deals and ensure that Ghana is the beneficiary at the end of the day. There is good value for money. He's been speaking at a press conference.
I don't know who put it out there, but the first thing is it a signed document? If it's not a signed document, it could be speculation, it could be true, it could be speculation. I will suspend judgment until I see the document that has been purportedly put out there, and then we can comment. But I haven't listened to any of the discussions. Yes, indeed, we are reviewing all the power procurement arrangements.
All right, so that is Boachi Ejakon, who is the Minister for Energy. So we'll bring you a fuller version of that press interaction in our subsequent bulletin. Stay with us.
TV3, first in news, best in entertainment. Watch New Day every weekday at 6 a.m. New Day is brought to you by Givers Capsules.
Welcome back. Time now for international news.
Reports from Russia quotes the Kremlin as accusing the opposition of encouraging law-breaking and provoking violence. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, in the first comments by the presidency since the protests, said essentially what we saw yesterday in several places, probably especially in Moscow, as a provocation and a lie. He alleged some young people were paid to attend, but added that the message from legal protest would be listened to. Meanwhile, defiant Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, one of hundreds detained, appeared in court on Monday. He repeated accusations of corruption against Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev. The allegations were the main reason behind Sunday's protests, which drew thousands of demonstrators nationwide, including St. Petersburg, Vladivostok, Novosibirsk, Tomsk and several other cities, as well as Moscow. At least 500 protesters were detained.
Time now for entertainment news, and splendid performances put up by seasoned music gurus at the just-ended Music of Ghanaian Origin concert Mogo made the night a memorable one for many. This year's edition of the annual event brought together the best in the industry.
The night registered sizzling performances from opening act Adani Best. Not only did he get the audience to sing along his many popular songs, he also captivated them with his famous Jatabi song. There was no dull moment as patrons were treated to back-to-back performances from artists. Pioneer High Lifers Nana Mpedu and Papa Youngson proved old age got nothing on them. Just when patrons thought it was all over, rap doctor Ochame Kwame took the stage and pushed the fun up with captivating vocals and stage antics. The program's manager of CTFM, Jessica Parisafo, said Mogo has been very impactful on the music industry.
CTFM began this particular event at a time when the music genre high life was almost dead. You know, no one wanted to associate with it. The young people were disinterested. And over the years, you know, we've managed to rekindle people's love for high life. And that was one of our main objectives.
Mr. Versatile Ochame Kwame shared his journey with Mogo.
It gives employment to aging musicians. 2, it reminds people of how amazing our music is. 3, it brings musicians together. And 4, it's trending. So the young people who think that high life is not the ish, they know that they are missing something too much.
The music of Ghanaian origin, Mogo. All right, in other entertainment news this afternoon, audience were thrilled with energetic performances as contestants of TV3's Talented Kids took on the Reggae and Dancehall Challenge. It did not just end there. The guest judge, Nana Ama McBrown, also gave a performance that was breathtaking. Ajua Amofa Osei has more.
She want me still assume, so she's alright.
It's so hard.
Alright, people.
It's so hard. Yeah.
Cho, let me see you standing, you know.
Star actress Nanama McBrown brought the roof down when she gave an electrifying performance to entertain audience in the Reggae and Dancehall episode of Talented Kids Season 8. Known for her singing prowess, she got almost everyone on their feet to jam along as she did a rendition of Samini's Where My Baby Day.
Where my baby day, I'm wailing every day. Bobby says she still look at my way. Where my baby day.
With the theme, Dance Hall Edition, contestants put their best foot forward and their energy was everything audience expected. Visually impaired Christian Morgan's performance got judges tearing up.
Turntables magician DJ Switch left guest judge Nanama McBrown dumbfounded with her craft. Other contestants also did well to give audience what they deserved. Louisa Akwete was awarded for Best Costume. Best Creativity Award went to Lily's Dance Crew, and Christian Morgan was a judge as the best performer for the evening. Audience were not left out of the prize packages, and that moment of evasion was up. Black Star magician and Anthony Elikem, aka Ragbe, had to take a bow out of the competition. It's getting tougher and tougher as the battle for the ultimate continues. Talented kids free to play.
All right, so that's it for the bulletin. It came your way from our studio here at Adesanwe. Thank you very much for making time. There is more news on our website, 3news.com. Do have a good afternoon, and as always, stay positive. Bye for now.
Libertad.